Okay, so I just watched Tomodachi Game, right? And not gonna lie, it's one of the grimiest shows that I've ever seen. I thought that Classroom of the Elite was bad. No, this show takes the cake. I've never seen backdooring be portrayed in such an eccentric way in my life. But like the last video, I'm gonna give it a rating. It's gonna be scored like the last one, out of deceit, lying, and capping your ass, which overall gives us the maximum treachery score. So without further ado, from me to you, here's the Tomodachi. Wait, who is this ugly ass nigga? Hold on. And gang look evil as shit. Wait. How you just gonna cut to a normal, peaceful ride in Japan after that? Did you not just see his menacing demeanor? So the show kicks off introducing us to our friends, or what should be our friends. And these guys are happy. Until one day, all the field trip money that they were supposed to use got stolen. So later that night, he receives a note from Shiho on his door telling him to meet at a secret location. But when he arrives, everybody's there saying that he's the one that sent the note. Then wham! He gets electrocuted or shocked, whatever you want to call it, by a taser, and then he wakes up inside of a white room. Oh yeah, his name is Yuichi and he's poor as shit. I forgot to mention that. But then the gang is introduced to this funky ass looking dude named Manabu. Apparently he was some kid's character from some popular show, I don't know. But he does inform them that they're all 20 million yen in debt. And if they want to let go of their debt, they have to play the Tomodachi game. So we enter the first game room. This is where our cast learns a large grip of the rules for the game. They're all given badges with their names on them that have individual debts that they all owe. And the catch is if they show each other how much they owe, the debt doubles. And the first game that they play is called Kokuri, and it's to test their friendship. The rules are a reader has to pull a card with a question on it, and they all have to guess the answer. Sounds easy, right? Well, that's where you're sadly mistaken. Because if one person guesses wrong on purpose, their debt gets doubled again. And that's exactly what just happened. So Yuichi goes through a bunch of flashbacks to see who could potentially be the traitor amongst the group. And at first he suspects Shibe because of how Shiho smacked the Then he remembers a core memory of how Shiho told him to give him one secret that he's never told the group, which possibly sets us up for future events. Anyways, the next question was 1 + 1, and guess what the fuck this group got? If you thought too, no, somebody got it wrong on purpose, which makes Yuichi furious. He suspects all of his friends are betraying him right now, and that's pissing him the fuck off. But now we get into a deeper look of who's really running the show. As the two game watchers look over Yuichi, they notice that he's planning something pretty conniving in his head. So Yuichi's plan is to force the answer to go towards yes no matter what everybody else chooses to see who's the real traitor. And then when the answer shifts to no instead, he calls out a bless saying that he knows how the traitor is trying to operate, telling the group that the penalty goes to the person who's in last place with the lowest debt. And he switches the topic and makes it seem like he was just kidding because he's a f***ing psychopath, and then convinces everybody to keep going on with the game. So they all start continuing, but the traitor still doesn't want to get exposed. Look at Manabu throwing that thing. But since nobody wants to get exposed as a f***ing backstabber, they have to go along with the rest of the game, and they won Kokiri. And after the game's over, Yuichi tried to sneak a peek at what everybody's card said, but gets caught in the process by, you guessed it, Shiho. So him and Shiho start having a conversation of who they think the traitor might be. Yuichi thinks that it's Shiho because of how she was acting strange to him at the start, but that's not the reason. She says that it's because she likes him. Yuichi really has no riz, because why is his first move to scream when a girl says that she likes him? Now look at him looking uncomfortable as shit. But Shiho admits that her debt is actually 7.6 million. They promise to keep this a secret, but a certain someone is spying on them. But now we get to the next game, which is personally my favorite. It's called Bad Mousesuke. In this game, to win yen, you essentially have to talk shit about your best friend. And the worse the secret that you tell about them, the higher the yen payout. So of course, our tight-knit friend group decides not to talk shit about each other and loses 50 million in the process. But all of this changes when the traitor writes a secret anonymously about Shiho in the booth. The secret that was told was that Shiho likes Yuichi, but she used to date Tenji. And after the secret exposed, she moves up to the next block but wins nothing. Bitch got exposed for no reason. Anyway, Shibe goes at Yuichi because he feels like he and Shiho were being shady behind his back. Tenji tries to de-escalate the situation, but Shibe's not having it. So then Tenji stunts on him by saying, oh really? Well, that's why I used to clap Shiho. But then Shiho breaks down this annoying ass story about how their fathers used to be friends and they used to want them to date growing up. But then Tenji antagonizes Shibe some more, saying how he used to take Shiho to Duniland and he just loses his shit. But then Yuichi breaks up the fight and tells these niggas to get their head in the game. Moving forward, more embarrassing secrets are told about the gang, like Shibe used to take showers with his mom. One time Yuichi didn't bathe for a whole week. But the juiciest one of them all was Shiho has plastic surgery. Realizing that the bitch that he likes is made out of plastic, Shibe loses interest in Shiho. But now we gotta move on to the most disrespectful one of them all. I don't even know why they told him this. The traitor lets it be known that Yutari used to smash grown men for money when she was growing up in middle school. Shibe asks an ignorant question about the situation, then Tenji punches him dead in his shit. Moving forward, Tenji asks Yuichi if he could look after Yutari and he agrees. But then Yutari gives us the explanation of why she would do it, how she would get bullied in middle school and the only way to get them to stop was to pay her. Yuichi says he would never judge her and then leans in for a kiss. Oh wait, no, he's just telling her a secret. Moving forward, the audience is given hints about who the real traitor is in the group. They show how he was able to figure out everybody's secret, how he would be lurking in the shadows, always paying attention. And who's creepy enough to do that? You guessed it, Tenji. But the real goal of his treachery is to keep Shiho all for himself. He gives her a listening device disguised as a charm, so wherever she goes, he can hear everything she's saying, which is how he knew the secret about Yutari. So Tenji decides to start his manipulation against Shiho. Shiho. He volunteers to go inside the booth before her, but when he comes back out of the booth, he sees Yuichi smacking the fuck out of her. Moving forward, another Shiho secret is revealed about how she likes to wear men's boxers, and she automatically blames Yutari because she was the only one who knew. Tenji reveals a secret about how he's the oldest in the group. He wrote this about himself, but to isolate Shiho from the group more, he admits that Shiho was the only one that knew this secret. And now since everybody's on Shiho's dick and going against her, the game decides to pull out a bonus round called an expose. In the expose, one player has to get bad mouth the terrible secret, and the audience has to choose whether it's the truth or a lie. But Shibe decides to go up instead of Shiho because he has nothing to hide. Or so we thought, because a whole bunch of shit just got unpacked about his father in front of everybody. We learned that his father is a very shady politician who wastes money on bitches and has stories of him doing illegal activities covered up. Tenji manipulates everybody against Shibe and they all isolate from him. The whole gang separates from Shibe, even Yutari and Yoichi. Is this the Manabu taking selfies over him? Moving forward, a terrible secret is told about Shibe, how he killed someone. Tenji is shocked because he didn't write anything to sabotage Shibe when he went into the booth. So at first he believes it's the truth, but then he looks at Yuichi and believes that Yuichi has something to do with this. Shibe begs Manabu for an option and then he gives him one that the gods can decide if he's telling the truth. So Shibe's begging his ass off for mercy right now, but it doesn't work in the end because they believe that his dad just covered up a murder for him. But now Yuichi says that he has an idea who the traitor is. He says that everyone should expose themselves except Shibe. He says that if everyone writes a card about themselves, the traitor can get exposed by being the only one that writes something bad about somebody else. That's some big brain activity, Barboryorichi. You think that this is a solid plan and that he might get away with this. This might be the last round. Well, this got outsmarted. Now there's 10 cards written. If he would have added a limit to how many cards could have been written by the traitor, then they would have got exposed more efficiently. Then Tenji tells Yuichi that his plan was stupid and that he'll never trust him again. Now Shio's in the lead and she has to jump off this plank to reach the next game. Tenji starts acting like a simp, apologizing to her and saying that he's always going to be with her. But then the game watchers notice something about Yuichi and they rewind the tape and notice this nigga's a straight demon. Yuichi reveals to Tenji that he has another plan that he can use to smoke out the traitor. He suggests that everyone takes one card and they have to write their name on it and they all must admit one thing to see if it's a truth or a lie. That they're the ones that entered the group into the Tomodachi. Yuichi explains that everyone who's telling the lie will have their debt increase, but the person who's telling the truth will have nothing happen to them. This will expose the traitor. So Tenji takes his card first and goes into the booth, but then starts freaking out. Tenji's shitting himself because he knows that he's going to be the one that's outed as a traitor. So with his last minute left, he tries to come up with a plan and he realizes that he's just gonna cry. His plan is just to give them some lame-ass excuse, so he enters his card into the box. When it's time for him to exit the booth, Shibe walks in for his turn. After all the cards are tallied up, it's revealed by Manabu that only one person wrote something on the card, and it was Tenji's dumbass. So Tenji starts yelling off at everybody, exclaiming that he got framed, but nah, Yuichi ain't having it. Then Tenji drops to his knees and starts begging for forgiveness, and then Yuichi's like, it's alright. Psych, I lied, nigga. Worthless, nigga. Nobody care about you. Your mom ugly, your dad ugly, nobody likes you. He didn't say all that, but still you get the memo. At the end of the game, Yuichi walks up to Manabu and whispers a secret in his ear. He informed everyone that he wrote a lie about Shibe, saying that he was the one that killed somebody. And this is a lie because Yuichi's actually the one who's murdered somebody before. So right before Yuichi moves on to the next game, Tenji claims that he also was one that told a lie. He says that he was lying about liking Shiho the entire time, and Yuichi's the one that he really truly wants. But Yuichi thinks that Tenji is lying and he's just trying to get out of being exposed for a traitor, so he smooches this dude on the mouth. So they both fall off the pillar, heading into the next game. Yuichi wakes up to Tenji after the fall, telling him a story about why he truly doesn't like Shiho. It all started back in middle school when Tenji's friends decided to create a company, but then Shiho got involved and broke up their friendship. So they all struck up a deal that whoever could make the most money would win Shiho. So this led to Tenji being entered into the Tomodachi game for the first time, leading to a 10 million yen debt. After he got out, he confronted his friend about the business, but then he told him that he spent all of the money on Shiho. After this, Shiho confronts him in the middle of the street and he gets spooked. So he tries to confide in his dad, but then his dad says that he's gonna go talk to Shiho's father, which didn't end well because he got sent to an early grave. So he makes Yuichi promise that no matter what, his goal is to get back at Shiho. Moving forward, we get to the third game and we meet some new recruits. The new cast seems to have a more tight woven friendship than the last which is very important for the next game that's coming up, which is hide and go seek. But the hide and seek teams are very unmatched, so Manabu gives them an option to join another person. And this is where we meet a familiar face. It's the game watcher. But off rip, Yuichi's already suspicious of him. So later that night, when everybody's round up around the table, Yuichi tries to convince the other team to let him join. At first, they're hesitant, so they suggest to call their boss to see if it's alright with him. But then Yuichi starts mocking them, saying that they're nothing but bitch ass niggas. And this heats him up. He charges at Yuichi, but his teammate has to stop because hitting the opposing team is a big no-no. But 2 days earlier, it's revealed that Yuichi has no intention on joining the other team and that it's just a ploy to set them up. So now we enter the 4th day on game 3. And might I say, Tenji is looking terrible. Moving forward, Yuichi and the game lady are asleep, so the other team is having a conversation with each other. But apparently Yuichi wasn't asleep and he was eavesdropping the whole time. So he strikes up a conversation with Yukitaru, in which he realizes his team captain injured his leg. But then Taro realizes that Yuichi is trying to get in his head and realize why he's in the Tomodachi. Then Yuichi causes a distraction and runs away from the base with food and water. But to get the other team off his tail, he pushed his teammate down the cliff. What a snake! Moving forward, Tenji's knocking on death's door and it looks like he's about to push the button when all of a sudden, the savior Yuichi comes and rescues him. Then he gives Tenji the rundown of exactly what's what's been happening and his plan to destroy their entire friendship. Yuichi lets Tenji know that he made their teammates stay back and stay as a distraction. Yuichi's plan is to have her manipulate Yukitaru so that he can choose to switch teams. So Yuichi heads out back to base and leaves Tenji there for the rest of the time. Now that Yuichi's back at base, tensions are set high. Yukitaru has been going at it with his teammates the entire time, then eventually tells Manabu that he wants to switch. Hours pass and his old teammates try to confide in him, but he lets them know that he can't let the abuse of a woman take place in his face. But Yuichi won't let up on the antagonizer. Taru asks Yuichi to leave her alone or else something bad is gonna happen to her. But Yuichi says that he don't care and he can do whatever he wants because that's his team. This makes Yukitaru furious and wants to punch Yuichi dead in his face. But the game lady intervenes before that can happen. But this drives my boy Yuichi off the edge and he starts tweaking out. Later that night, Yuichi uses the game lady to get answers out of Yukitaru where their boss is. But it's revealed to us that the whole time he doesn't actually know where the boss is being held. And it's later revealed that the boss isn't the real mastermind, it's this dude. I don't really remember his real name, so we're just gonna call him Sasori because he has red hair. Sasori reveals to Yuichi that it was a part of his plan for Yukitaru to join them the entire time. But as soon as Yuichi figures out a plan of what to do with Yukitaru, his old teammates pop. So the next morning, the game lady tells Yuichi and Yukitaru that she's gonna go take a walk. While she's out, she runs into Sasori, who says that he has a better proposition for her. She gets exposed as one of the game watchers and she starts freaking out. Then she stops caring and asks him what his intentions are. He says he wants her to betray Yuichi and join his team, because if she does, she'll have a lot more fun. This makes her excited and she decides to join his team. Now to set up her former team, she asks Yuichi where Tenji's being held. And after Yuichi told her the exact location, she automatically swaps sides. So Sasori pulls up on Tenji, which automatically means that he won the game. But when they get back, they realize that the boss lost the whole time because he gave up their location. So the true winners of the game is Yuichi's Team C. So after that huge L that they just took, the boss and his team decide to go home. So Manabu sends Yuichi and Tenji back home until the next game happens. But sadly, back at home, everything is not what it seems. So Yutiri gives us a rundown about everything that happened in the past few days. After Manabu said that they can be free to go home, a huge shitstorm just happened. The three went back to school all cheery and happy until they realized the class still got smoke with them over the missing money. Shibe comes to Shiho's defense and says that it wasn't her. But then Yutiri tells us that Shibe got arrested for conspiracy against his father's death. When the guys go to visit Shibe, he screams out that it wasn't him who murdered his father. But Tenji gets angry flashbacks when he sees Shiho's father. So Tenji started going off, but then Yuichi had to hold him back. Then Shiho's OG makes a threat against Yuichi and Tenji, but Yuichi doesn't care because he has nothing to lose. Moving forward, Yuichi tells Yutiri that he doesn't f with her like that anymore and that she needs to get out of his face. This breaks Yutiri's heart in the process. But Yuichi tells Tenji that he only told her that so he could keep her safe. But he has pretty shit luck because she ended up getting kidnapped in the process anyway. So the folks at the Tomodachi game dropped the low of exactly where Yutiri is at so Yuichi can come play the next game. Yuichi's like, alright, I'll be there. Moving forward, Yuichi pulls up to the spot and meets all these ugly ass gang members. Then they reveal Yutiri to him, but also they reveal the game master. He explains that this game he's gonna feel nothing but pain, and every time Yutiri chooses Yuichi to take her pain, it's gonna be much worse than anything that she would have felt. For the first round, Yutiri chose Yuichi to take the pain for her, and he ends up getting socked dead in his face. The next round is either Yutiri gets one fingernail removed or Yuichi would have to have 3. In the beginning, it looked like Yutiri was just gonna thug it out and take her punishment, but in the end, she couldn't do it. So because of the rules, Yuichi had to step up and take the pain for her. But after Yuichi gets his fingernails removed, he asked the gang members, why do y'all follow this? Because in my opinion, he's a bitch. So then Yutiri starts apologizing and crying, feeling that she failed Yuichi. But then Yuichi consoles her and lets her know that it's not her fault. Now we move on to the last challenge where Yuichi has to get stabbed in his hand 3 times. At first, it seems like he's taking the pain pretty well, but after the second stab, Yuichi starts screaming. And after this, he finally just tweaks out and snaps. Moving forward, Yuichi gives the gang leader an option to play one of his games this time. He tells them that they're going to play a simple game of rock, paper, scissors. At first, he wasn't really feeling it until Yuichi told him it's 10 million yen on the line. But before he can agree, Yuichi has to lay out the rules of the game. If he loses with paper, he has to have 5 fingers removed. If he loses with scissors, it's 2. But if he loses with rock, he's safe. And since Yuichi has a broke hand, he says the only thing that he can throw is paper and rock, so he shouldn't pussy out. Come on, don't be a bitch. Everyone gets hype as shit because they believe that their boss is gonna win, so now he has no choice but to face Yuichi. Everything leads up to this moment right here. Yuichi versus Pon from 7 Deadly. Who's gonna win? As I figured, this dumbass nigga lost. He starts yelling about Yuichi cheating, but Yuichi explains he never said that he couldn't throw out scissors. So after being hoodwinked and bamboozled, the gang decides to tie Yuichi up. But before they could do any more harm, the real Tomodachi game leaders came in and saved the day. We found out the ones that called and gave in the heads up to the Tomodachi game leaders was Tenji. Then it's revealed that this Bond looking ass got exposed as a fake. Apparently this dude was just impersonating Manabu and setting up the Tomodachi game players. But before the real representatives of the game can arrest Yuichi's like, nah, this owes me a couple fingers. So the lady steps on his hand and tells Yuichi to make it quick. But as Yuichi toys around with him more and more, he lets him know that if somebody wants to take the fall for him, they'll only get 1 finger removed instead of his 5. So Bond decides to try to convince his game to get their fingers removed, but none of them respect him anymore. Then before Yuichi can slice his fingers off his fucking hand, he ends up passing out from all the pressure. Moving forward, Tenji and Yutiri learn that they can help their friend Shibe they escape out of jail. But the only catch for this is that they would have to go 500 million yen in debt. Yuichi wakes up after hearing this news and he lets them know that they have to go free Shibe no matter what cost. But after overexerting himself combined with the loss of blood, he collapses from the pressure. And that was the Tomodachi game. I'm gonna be honest, this shit is different. This shit is evil. This shit is not for the weak-hearted. There was intense amount of snakery the entire time. I was never bored. For a deceit score, I give it a 10 out of 10. Tenji's the wildest snake-ass I've ever seen. And same goes for lying and capping your ass off. I gotta give it a 10 out of 10. Who knew this show had so many A-tier liars? These guys are prime examples why it's impossible to trust. And then the MC is just utterly batshit crazy. It's perfect. So that brings us a 10 out of 10 for the maximum treachery. I mean, this is just a great show. W show, 10 out of 10, I would definitely recommend. Anyways, that's the end of my review for Tomodachi Game. I really enjoyed making it. And if you guys have any more recommendations, just let me know and I'm free. I'll do it. I gotta stop stuttering. I sound like a bitch.